Did you know that US Bank has a $25,000 personal line of credit that is very easy to get? In today's conversation, I'm going to break everything down for you. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation, I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about the US Bank $25,000 personal line of credit. And let's first get an overview of this loans and lines of credit here. When you're thinking about a personal line of credit from US Bank, you want to think about some financial flexibility, right? So when you get this personal line of credit, you are able to take care of business because maybe you have a large expenditure, you have something to take care of, you need to fix something in the house. So you are thinking about financial flexibility. So here are the facts about this line of credit. So you have credit limits up to $25,000. No collateral required. This is really good. This is an unsecured line of credit. No personal guarantee, nothing, no collateral. You have instant access to your line of credit when you book online or at a branch. Our recommendation is to do everything at a branch. Don't do things online, okay? And this line of credit has no annual fees. This is really great. And we love the fact that you have a competitive variable rate, currently 10.25% APR. And so you have the same low APR for advances, balance transfers, and purchases. 10.25%, if you were to ask us, this is a great APR right now. And you're able to have easy access to funds via or with a Visa Access card, personal line access checks at an ATM, online, mobile, or at a branch. So this is really good, okay? And I want you to look right now on the screen. Here is the fee disclosure. And I want you, please, let that sink in. Look at it. Look at the fees for this personal lines of credit. So overall, when we think about a personal line of credit from US Bank, we're thinking about flexibility, we're thinking about affordability, but most importantly, we're thinking about building credit. In other words, they will report your credit usage to the 3 credit bureaus, to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So please, be financially responsible. And also, you also want to think about having a relationship with US Bank. Do you currently have a relationship with US Bank? This is important. You got to have deposit accounts with them. You got to have a checking account. You got to have a savings account, at least 2, at least a checking and a savings account. This will help you get qualified for this US Bank $25,000 personal line of credit. Let me talk to you about the pros and cons of this line of credit. So basically, when we think about US Bank, we're thinking about a bank that is the 5th largest bank in the United States, okay? And this bank has an operational footprint across 26 to 30 states. They have more than 2,000 branches. So you can walk into any branch and apply for a loan, not a problem, okay? And if you want to do it that way. You can also pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone before applying. But we do not recommend applying online unless you have excellent credit. If you have stellar credit, then the algorithm will be your friend. But if you have something between 400 and 700, you are better off going to a branch and talking to someone. So in addition to unsecured lines of credit, US Bank also offers personal checking and savings account, credit card, personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans, to name a few. So what are the pros and cons when we talk about strictly the personal lines of credit? You have no prepayment or origination fees. You have small minimum line amounts or loan amounts, those two. You have auto pay discounts available. This is really good. You can get the auto pay if you have an account with them. And you have competitive APRs. Think about 10.25%. This is really good. This is really good. What about the cons? The maximum line amount is lowered in some states. So we said 25,000, that's the maximum. but in some states this can be 15,000 or 10,000. It depends on the regulation in your states and the kind of business risk or personal risk that U.S. Bank perceives in your state. There is no pre-qualification process, and some borrowers will need to visit a branch in person. Let me explain this further, folks. We're speaking about money, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. We're speaking about the U.S. Bank $25,000 personal line of credit. So the one thing I want you to remember here is that in addition to having a relationship with the bank, you might need to basically when you go to the bank, you might need to have some documentation. Your tax returns, for example. You might want to have proof of employment. It must be verifiable. I don't care if you are paid in cash or electronically or via check. You need to have proof of employment. You might have to show W-2s, 1099s, okay? But bottom line is that this line of credit from U.S. Bank is interesting because it has no origination fee, okay? It has a great APR. It has an auto pay discount available. So those are really, really wonderful. I want to talk overall about this lender. When we talk about U.S. Bank, we are speaking about a lender that has I would say a good reputation overall in terms of customer service, in terms of transparency in the line of credit, in the loan they're offering. When you go to the website, you have all the information available online. They're not hiding it. Some big national banks do not disclose their rates, their fees on their website, but U.S. Bank does that. So this is really great. This is to their credit. We need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge the fact that the banking experience is excellent overall. Okay, this is something you need to think about, and this is a big decision time. Are you interested in this line of credit? If you do, I have news for you. The banking experience is excellent, but the overdraft fees, not really that good. They can be improved. So if you open a bank account with a checking account with U.S. Bank, you want to make sure you have enough balance in the account so that you don't have to pay overdraft fees. Okay, this is something that will actually charge you like crazy. Okay, and this is something that you really want to, because if you don't pay your overdraft fees and your overall account history with them is damaged, you might end up having an entry into the check system report. You don't want that. You really don't want that. So overall, this is a great lender. This is a great lender not only for personal loans, but also for lines of credit. And so after evaluating this lender on tens of criteria, including the loan variety, the loan amount generosity, the cost, the reputation, and the customer service, we assigned U.S. Bank a score of 9/10. Okay, 9/10, this is our score. And I want to say that what we love in the line of credit is the flexibility. We love the fact that you can use the money for nearly everything that is legit, of course. Okay, so they're not really monitoring what you are using the money for. I mean, they will ask you what you need the money for, but they're not they wouldn't be tracking your expenditures and see. No, they give you flexibility. They trust you. As long as you use the money for legit purposes, that's fine. And as long as you abide by the credit line, the accounts agreement, right? Because when they give you the $25,000, you would need to sign some kind of promissory note, some kind of client agreement. Just make sure that you respect, that you comply with the rules and the rules that are and the stipulations that are in that document. I want to quickly talk to you about eligibility criteria. So how do you qualify for this $25,000 U.S. Bank personal line of credit? First of all, you got to look at your credit history, your credit score. So they will usually they'll look for folks who have a credit score that ranges from 670 to 850. But if you have a FICO score that goes all the way to 530, they will take you as long as you have an MPR with them. 530 is the bare minimum if you have a strong relationship with the bank. When we talk about strong relationship, we are speaking about not only in terms of breadth, but also depth. So the relationship must be broad. You must have a lot of accounts with them, a lot of deposit accounts, but the relationship must also be deep. In other words, you must have been with them for a long time. That is if you have less than stellar credit, but you want to have the personal line of credit. They will pay attention to your income. So basically, the minimum here is $18,000 a year. Okay, so this is 18,000. It actually fluctuates by states, but it's usually around 18 to 20,000. So that's gross income. So that's $1,500 gross income a month, and that's the bare minimum. Okay, and they also pay attention to your debt to income ratio. So U.S. Bank will actually check your debt to income ratio, that your DTI. This is important. This is a percentage of. This is actually a portion of your gross monthly income that goes towards your monthly debt service. And U.S. Bank likes to have a DTI around 35%. Okay, so if you have 35, 30%, 25%, you're good to go. And one thing you also need to pay attention to is there are some typical personal line of credit documents. Let me ask you a question. Big decision time. Where is your paperwork? Is your paperwork online in the cloud, or are you do you have things in your closet? Where is your paperwork? I'm talking about your driver's license, your passport, your other state issued ID, your birth certificate, your military ID, because you might need to provide this as proof of identity to U.S. Bank before getting the line of credit. And also you have employer and income verification documents. So pay stubs, returns, W-2s, and 1099s. You have bank statements, and they might also ask for your employer contact information. You might also need to provide proof of address. So they might ask you for a recent utility bill, a copy of your lease or other rental agreement. They might also ask you a proof of home, rental, or auto insurance that lists your address. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sorty Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about the U.S. Bank $25,000 personal line of credit. And let's talk about the use of line proceeds. So when you get the money from a U.S. Bank, when they actually grant you the line of credit, what can you use the money for? Okay, so before you take out a line of credit, secured or unsecured in general, you want to check your credit scores and take steps to boost your credit health so that you can improve your chances of qualifying for a lower interest rate, whether it is with a U.S. Bank or with another lender. Okay, then you want to figure out how much you need and how you plan to spend the money. This is important. So here are some guidelines for when to use or not use a line of credit. So when do you need to use a line of credit? So if you need the money for a home improvement project, education cost, or other types of major expenses, a line of credit is kind of cool. And this line of credit can be just an unsecured line of credit. It can also be a secure line of credit. But the good thing is that with US Bank, you have an unsecured line of credit. You can use the money to tackle some large expenses, or depending upon your situation, you can use the money also to do some home improvement. Okay, do not use this line of credit for things like vacations or dining out. This is not a good use of it. You can use a credit card for it, and you can reap rewards in the process. Okay, and also it's important to understand that, as I said earlier, US Bank is not going to monitor how you use the money, but it's important from an economic perspective to think about the APR you're going to be paying on this line of credit versus what you're spending the money for. Okay, if you're looking for a one-time major expense, then just get a loan. US Bank has personal loans also. Just get a loan. Don't get a line of credit. So you just get a lump sum, and you just pay it over 5 years or 7 years or 3 years, and in equal installment. It makes a lot more sense than trying to get a US Bank line of credit. Okay, so use the money for things that you know are not major, or the things that you know will add value to your life. For example, if you do some home improvements, that's adding some equity to the value of the home, right? So that's adding equity to the home itself. So that's increasing the value of the home. So that's a good use of a line of credit. I want to talk to you about the evidence needed. What kind of evidence does U.S. Bank need to approve the $25,000 personal line of credit? By the way, folks, the $25,000 is the maximum amount, okay? They might approve you for a lower amount, but at least that's the maximum amount. So first of all, you are going to fill out a credit line application form. It's sort of similar to a loan application form if you go to U.S. Bank. So they'll be asking you why you're applying for this line of credit. What will the line of credit proceeds be used for? What assets need to be purchased, if any? Like, are you using the money to buy a car, for instance? What other personal debt do you have? Because remember, a line of credit remains a credit product. So they will check what other personal debt you currently have and who your creditors are. And you can also co-sign for this line of credit. You and your spouse can co-sign for it. In other words, the responsible use of this line of credit can be reported to all the three major credit bureaus. And they might also ask you for some information about your personal background. In some cases, we have seen folks who have had to provide their resumes to U.S. Bank. Okay, it's all about due diligence. It's all about making sure that U.S. Bank is knowing a lot about you so they can decrease their default risk. Okay, and in some cases, as we have seen, they've also asked people to provide financial statements, PFS, personal financial statements. So showing they might be asking you to provide your balance sheet, a copy of your balance sheet, a copy of your income statement. Okay, and in some cases, they might also ask you to provide your cash flow statements. And in some cases, again, they will ask you for bank statements. It's all about, it's on a case-by-case basis. But if you have a relationship with them, if you already have accounts with them, they're not going to ask you for your bank statements. They already have it. Okay. And how do you apply for this U.S. Bank $25,000 personal line of credit? Well, you can apply at a branch. You can apply on the phone. You can apply online. But the bottom line is you need to have a U.S. Bank account to qualify for this line of credit. Okay, so you first need to have, but once you have the account with them, you can apply on the phone, online, or at a branch. But our recommendation, you'll always want to apply at a branch. Let me give you a few pro tips to close today's conversation, folks. We are still having a conversation about the $25,000 U.S. Bank personal line of credit. And if you want to boost your chances of being approved, there are a few things you need to do. Because the bottom line is, I want to put as much money in your pocket. It's all about making you unstoppable when it comes to applying for a line of credit at U.S. Bank or a loan at U.S. Bank for that matter. One thing for sure, you want to keep your documents in order. Okay, so when we talk about keeping your documents in order, we're speaking about having a place where you can store your most important financial documents. And this will include your financial statements, your tax returns for the last 3 years, your bank statements, your W-2s and 1099s, other proof of verifiable income, for example. You constantly want to maintain good credit. This will help you also get favorable rates with a U.S. bank. You want to demonstrate sufficient cash flow. We have spoken about this on this and other shows. You want to show U.S. bank that you are working, that you have a constant flow of cash coming into your account. Okay, because they will be looking at your cash inflows and your cash outflows. Okay, you also might need to determine whether you need a personal loan or a personal line of credit. This is a decision you should have made a long time ago anyway, before even applying for this. But the bottom line is that in some cases, a personal loan from U.S. Bank is a lot better than a personal line of credit from the same institution. Okay, so you also want to compare lenders. My point is U.S. Bank finally the best lender for this? Maybe not. I mean, there are other banks out there that have that offer personal lines of credit, and you might qualify for a line of credit at a better rate at another institution. So what I'm trying to say here is you want to keep your options open. Very important. Okay, you want to keep your options open, and the bottom line is always think about your best way to apply for this line of credit and the best way to be approved. So, for example, if you realize that individually you're not strong enough to be approved for this U.S. Bank personal line of credit, why don't you just have a co-signer? Have your spouse, if you are in a relationship, or have a friend, or have someone who can vouch for you, who can co-sign for you, who can co-apply for you. This could be this could be the element that will make the decision, that will turn the decision in your favor. Okay. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. In today's convo, I was talking to you about the U.S. Bank $25,000 personal line of credit. I gave you an overview about this line of credit, the pros and cons, the lender at a glance eligibility criteria. We spoke about the use of line proceeds, the evidence needed, and the pro tips. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.